Hello Star Seekers, thank you for joining me in this video. Today we will be discussing the new moon in Aries on March 21st, around that time, depending on where you are in the world. And this is also the spring equinox. The sun moves into Aries, the moon moves into Aries, and there's a few other planets there, and they are making aspects with some other planets. So stay with me as we discuss the potentials of the new moon in Aries for you. Now, my usual disclaimer about which sign you should be watching. In order to know where this energy will be affecting you, you need to know which houses these particular signs fall into, specifically Aries for this new moon. Which house Aries falls into is determined by your rising sign, not your sun sign. Horoscopes are determined through rising signs. Your sun sign is very important when you're learning about your personality and how you shine in the world and where you show off. But when we're talking about predictive horoscopes, it is your rising sign that we are looking at in order to determine which house a sign falls into and therefore which area of life this energy will be felt in. So, with that said, let's get into this. Hello Aries rising, thank you for joining me. Let's get right into this new moon. So when we have a new moon, we have the sun and the moon, or the high priestess, in the same sign. So for you Aries, that's your first house. This is the house of self, the house of inception, of identity, as well as your perspective on the world. Now we also have Mercury, or the magician, and Jupiter, or the wheel of fortune, joining the sun and the moon in your first house. Now what does that mean specifically? So when you have the sun, the moon, Mercury, these are all together in a conjunction or harmonizing. Then you have Jupiter here too, but Jupiter's much farther out. So they're all in Aries in your first house. This can bring a burst of energy and enthusiasm to your personality. This is making you confident and assertive. This conjunction here between these can bring success in things that you are starting fresh, starting new businesses, new ventures. It's also a desire for independence and leadership roles within yourself. Be aware of a tendency towards impulsiveness and impatience, which could lead to hasty decisions, particularly when it comes to who you are and how you identify and how you present in the world. We also have Venus right next door, along with Uranus. Venus is the Empress and Uranus is the Fool. We also have these two planets right next door in Taurus, in your second house. This is the house of values, of possessions, of money, finances, and resources, especially that are specific to you, that you've earned or you have access to. Now, Venus just got into Taurus a few days ago, and Venus is at home. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, so it's at home in the sign of Taurus. Uranus has been there for a few years, and it will be there until 2025. So it's been playing some tricks in your second house for a while now. You've probably been feeling that, and it's going to be there till 2025. Venus moves out of Taurus on April 10th, so Venus will be moving on. But in the meantime, what this means is you are having some financial stability and prosperity with Venus here, as well as a desire for more luxurious situations and maybe increasing your possessions. With Uranus there, this has been disrupting your traditional financial patterns and bringing you unexpected changes to your personal values and to your beliefs about money and possessions. Now together, the two of these combined in your second house can create a unique blend of stability and innovation in your personal finances and in your values. So you've had a lot of shifts and changes going on in how you make money, or how you support yourself, or how you are self-sufficient. And that's still going to be happening for another 2 years. So you know, just know that that's, Uranus has really been affecting your ability to make money. Venus coming in here, Venus is saying, I'm going to come in and stabilize things and make it a little bit more abundant, luxurious, pleasurable. Okay, now next we have Saturn and Neptune. Saturn is the world, Neptune is the hanged man. These are both in Pisces. Pisces is your 12th house. Pisces is the 12th house is the house of the subconscious, spirituality. It's the removing yourself from your mundane physical body and going deep within to your subconscious or your spiritual self. It's also the house of undoing of addictions, self-sabotage, self-destructive behaviors. Now, Pisces is the natural ruler of the 12th house, or the natural 12th house placement, and Neptune is at home in both Pisces and the 12th house. So you're having this double, almost triple dose of Neptunian energy going on. Okay, with Mars here in Gemini, this is indicating a strong desire for mental stimulation and communication, but there's also a potential for impulsive and scattered actions. Now, the square between the Sun, the Moon, and Mars, this creates tension and conflict between your desire for independence and self-expression and your need to balance with effective communication and listening skills. Now, this could potentially lead to impulsive or rash actions, so be aware of any friction in your personal and your social relationships, especially with siblings. The third house has to do with siblings. Now, the next aspect we have is this Sun and Moon, the new moon, is also conjunct with this Neptune right here. So even though they're in two different houses and two different signs, if you're using the whole house method, the Neptune is just at the very tail end of Pisces, about ready to head into Aries. When will that be? March 30th, 2025. So it still has 2 years because Neptune is a far out planet, so it takes a long time for it to move anywhere. But it's at the end of Pisces, and the Sun and the Moon, they're at 0 degrees of Aries. So these planets are within 5 degrees of each other, which means they are conjunct. So a Sun and Moon conjunction in Aries in your first house with Neptune in Pisces in your 12th house, this can potentially create a highly imaginative and intuitive situation where you are feeling a strong desire for self-expression, especially with independence in that self-expression. This placement can indicate a tendency towards spiritual pursuits and a connection to your subconscious and the dream realm, or your fantasy realm. Beware though of any challenges related to maintaining boundaries and navigating what is reality versus illusion. Okay, all this Piscean, Neptunian 12th house energy has the tendency to make the world seem very dreamy, and your idealism and your fantasy to somewhat take over reality. Okay, and we also have the same Sun-Moon conjunction here, this new moon in Aries. This is making a 60-degree angle to Pluto over here in your 10th house. This is another outer planet that takes a very long time to get through the zodiac. It has been in your 10th house since 2008. That's a lot of Pluto energy on your career, your public status, your reputation, or your ability to master something. Pluto's about to move into the 12th house, and that will be shifting to your community, your groups and organizations. But while it is still in the 10th house at the very tail end, it's making a 60-degree angle to this Sun and Moon over here in your first house. Now, what this means is this is the potential for creating a powerful and transformative situation for career success, for personal growth within your career and your reputation. This placement can indicate a deep desire for achievement and the ability to harness your personal power to overcome any challenges or obstacles in your career or your public image or your reputation. Now, be aware that there can be a tendency towards obsessiveness or control issues in your career and in your public status if you don't channel this energy constructively. Okay, now Venus over here in your second house is making a square to this Pluto in your 10th house. So this is a very career, money-oriented situation. So this can bring up issues around money and power. This aspect can indicate a desire to gain financial success or material possessions, but it can also lead to power struggles and manipulative behavior. It's important to be mindful of how you use your resources, your second house, and to cultivate a healthy relationship with money as well as authority figures, okay? Now, Mars over here is making a trine to Saturn in your 12th house. Now, a trine is a lucky aspect. What this is doing is bringing a disciplined and focused approach to your communication and to your intellectual pursuits, with a tendency towards practical and strategic thinking. This aspect can potentially harness your mental energy from this third house. This is communication and your intellectual ability. And it can channel it towards productive and meaningful pursuits, particularly in areas of both spirituality and creativity. It's important for you to be aware, though, that there's a potential for tendencies towards self-doubt and escapism, that 12th house escapism. And this can impede your progress and your success in these areas of life. And lastly, we have Mars also in a square with the Neptune up here, because Neptune's further along, it's in a square with Mars. Now this can suggest a time when you are being highly imaginative and creative, and there is a potential here for a hidden talent in writing or communicating. Now, be aware that this alignment can also indicate a tendency towards self-deception or confusion in what your goals are and what your motivations are. The square aspect between Mars and Neptune, it can present challenges in staying focused and grounded, and it may require you to have a conscious effort to cultivate clarity and practicality in your communication and in your decision making. So overall, Aries, there is a lot of this dreaminess, this tendency to want to escape either physically into isolation or some sort of fantasy world. There's a lot of highlight going on in who you are and how you show up in the world, how people see you, what you physically look like, as well as your perspective on the world. You've got some good aspects with Venus here coming in to stabilize a little bit of the shaky, just unpredictable things that have been going on in your ability to earn money and to be self-sufficient. And then you have Mars over here really shaking things up in your house of communications, your house of intellect and mindset, and this all has an effect on your career, your public image, and your status out in the world. So I hope that was helpful for you, Aries. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and if you have any comments, I'd love to hear them, and please give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.